Somewhere in Des Moines or San Antonio, there's a young gay person who all of a sudden realizes that she or he is gay, and that child had several options: staying in a closet, suicide, and then one day that child might open a paper and it says homosexual elected in San Francisco, and there are two new options.
Harvey Milk was the first openly gay man to be elected to a public office in the United States when he became a member of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors in the 1970s. But that isn't where this story starts. Milk exchanged the obligation to attain rights for gays with people in the straight community and in the area of politics. He also greatly accelerated the American gay rights movement by exchanging the need to proclaim one's sexuality with members of the LGBTQ community. To tell his narrative, one needs to return to long before Harvey's political career began. After World War II, the political and social climate of opinion shifted greatly towards favoring conservative and conformist ideals. Anyone associated with homosexuality had a target on their back. The American Psychiatric Association declared that homosexuality was a sociopathic personality disturbance. Cures for this so-called disorder included castration, lobotomy, and electroshock therapy. Homosexuals were forced to hide their true selves because for the majority of America, they truly were monsters waiting in the closets of children's bedrooms. Those who identified as gay or lesbian were such a dangerous concept because their secret sexuality made them vulnerable to exploitation. It would seem that one would rather give up government secrets than have their own secret life exposed. It was frightfully important that the authority not be breached, and so anyone risky had to be eliminated. Joseph McCarthy, most well known for his involvement in the Red Scare, was also instrumental in the issuing of Executive Order 10450 in 1953, which banned the employment by the government of sexual perverts, on the basis that homosexuals were unstable and therefore a security risk. The question that plagued most gays was, how can we fight back without being discovered? The movement was such a complicated one because being a homosexual meant living under a cover of fear and darkness. It is widely accepted in contemporary society that sexuality is a continuum, and many homosexuals can foster heterosexual feelings. Therefore, they were able to lead, quote, normal lives. In being able to disguise themselves, homosexuals are separated from other human rights mobilizations. This later became a valuable part of Harvey's crusade, and he exchanged the crucial urgency in which gays needed to come out of the closet ready to endure the path to liberation. The campaign was still flourishing because the homosexual community was on the rise and their anger was too. This is shown in the Stonewall riots, which were to many a great exciting point for the American gay rights movement. In 1969, after the Liquor Authority in New York prohibited serving homosexual customers on the basis that they were disorderly, a disturbance erupted at a popular gay bar, the Stonewall Inn, which was often stormed by police officers in an attempt to expunge the area of sexual deviance. On the night of June 28th, the bar was again raided by the police, but this time the furious gay youth confronted the officers in the streets. This event led to a riot lasting 3 days. Homophobic discrimination was common throughout the United States, and those belonging to the LGBTQ community weren't safe. To be young and realize you were gay in the 1970s was to await an adulthood encumbered with dim career prospects, fake wedding rings, and darkened bar windows. But the 1970s also brought a massive influx of gays to San Francisco. San Francisco became a liberal beacon. The area had fostered women's rights and environmental and labor activism. It later came to be accepting to same-sex couples because of the rise in gay population after homosexuals were sought out and dishonorably discharged from the military during World War II. A small area called the Castro bloomed, and many gay men flocked there. Even though the LGBTQ people thought of the Castro as a mecca or safe haven, gays in the area still faced massive opposition. It was the optimal time and place for a new wave of the gay revolution, and this was where the optimal man for the job, Harvey Milk, started his campaign. In 1972, Harvey Milk moved to San Francisco with his significant other, Scott Smith. The two of them opened a small shop called Castro Camera. Shortly after, people from the area, old ladies to gay youths, were coming to Harvey's shop for advice. In 1973, roughly a year after Harvey moved, the long ponytail and curly mustache-clad Milk announced his candidacy for the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. Though Milk was never a lawyer and had no experience in politics, his vast variety of past careers helped shape him into a charming, persuasive candidate. Milk ran as a proud, openly gay man, and he didn't just represent homosexuals. Harvey stood for all those who felt the government no longer understood the individual and no longer respected individual rights. Despite his efforts, Harvey was unable to gain a seat, yet he fared much better than was expected of someone with so little money and recognition. Harvey failed twice more in 1975 and 1976 in running for the Board of Supervisors and the 16th Assembly District, respectively, even though he cleaned up by cutting his hair and no longer smoking marijuana or visiting gay bathhouses. He also aided President president of the California State Senate, George Moscone, and running for mayor, who in return supported Milk. In 1977, Harvey again ran for the Board of Supervisors. This time, his victory was made feasible by the fact that elections were by newly created districts and not citywide. On November 8, 1977, Harvey Milk had finally done it. He was elected supervisor for District 5. Milk would now be able to exchange ideas in a large-scale political setting and spread acceptance for homosexuals. Milk's ambitious reform agenda didn't only include the LGBTQ community. He also worked to improve low-cost housing, tax codes, daycare centers, the strength and safety of neighborhoods, and especially the rights of the elderly. Harvey started simple with a bill called the Pooper Scooper Law that required dog owners to pick up their pets' excrement. He threw his support behind this bill to show that he was like any other supervisor to help with a real problem and to get more positive press. From there he went bigger, proposing a bill outlawing sexual orientation discrimination. It took a lot of persuasion, but it passed with only one vote against it from Supervisor Dan White. This showed that the political power of gays was rising. It was also a fantastic win for the homosexual community. The bill was enthusiastically signed by Mayor Moscone and Harvey Milk. In the summer of '78, attendance at the Gay Freedom Day Parade and the Gay Pride March ballooned. Participants were asked to carry signs displaying where they came from to show how far they had risen to make it to the Castro. The parade revealed the multiplying number of people who were coming out, but it caused much controversy and was vehemently opposed by Supervisor Dan White, a man who some thought of as an enemy to Harvey because of his growing hostility towards gay rights. The greatest triumph for Milk was defeating Proposition 6, otherwise known as the Briggs Initiative, because it was proposed by John Briggs. The proposition, had it passed, would have made it legal to fire not only gay teachers, but any member of a public school staff who supported gay rights. Briggs argued that because homosexual couples couldn't reproduce, they were invading the public school system, brainwashing the students, and recruiting them for the homosexual cause. Milk countered with the statistic that a majority of pedophiles were heterosexuals and jokes like,
"If teachers are going to affect you as role models, there'd be a lot of nuns running around the streets today."
Harvey also urged people to come out or reveal their homosexuality to their family and to their employers, because the movement wouldn't have nearly as much momentum if the support was coming from closeted gays who were afraid to participate. He had an ever-increasing number of followers and was able to shut down the dreaded Briggs Initiative. But like many good things, Harvey's time in office didn't last. On November 27, 1978, Dan White, a former firefighter, police officer, and county supervisor of the city of San Francisco, bypassed the security of San Francisco City Hall by entering through a basement window. White made his way to Mayor George Moscone's and Harvey Milk's offices and shot and killed them both. The devastated city fell into a deep state of mourning. By the evening, thousands of people marched down Market Street and then convened for a candlelight vigil in remembrance of the two deaths. 5 months later, Dan White was sentenced to a mere 7 years in prison, though he only served 5 on account of good behavior. His attorney argued what has become known as the Twinkie defense, which testified that White had been so stimulated by the large consumption of sugars the night before the murder that he could not be held accountable for his actions. On May 22, 1979, the day of the verdict, the White Nights riots erupted between the LGBTQ community of San Francisco and the local police. Over $1 million of damage was done to City Hall and police vehicles. The reaction became so violent because the verdict showed to a great extent the white superiority and gay inferiority that Milk had been working so hard to erase. Even Milk had anticipated the opposition to his place on the Board of Supervisors. He had recorded a specific will to be played had he been assassinated.
This is to be played only in the event of my death by assassination.
Milk's assassination guaranteed his legacy in the LGBTQ community, yet his actions and his message deserve a more prominent place in all of American history. He left a great impact on the American gay rights movement and the opportunities for gays and lesbians in politics. He spread tolerance and the value of equality for all. Milk reached out as a gay politician to all his straight and gay constituents, exchanging ideals about the rightful place for gays in America. Harvey also exchanged the importance of coming out with his fellow homosexuals because this was pertinent if the movement was to succeed. Since Harvey Milk's death in 1978, all 50 United States have had a gay person hold a public office position, and in this past summer, the Supreme Court of the United States legalized gay marriage in America. Milk was not only a champion for the homosexual cause, but he worked for all individuals, and he helped those who had trouble speaking out find a voice. In 2009, Barack Obama awarded Harvey Milk the Presidential Medal of Freedom for his contributions to the gay rights movement. Many people have captured his story in books, movies, plays, operas, memorials, schools, and even a holiday. So everyone should take a moment on May 22nd, Harvey Milk Day, to remember all the things this man not only stood for, but died for.
And you gotta give him hope.